make sure that you visit all of our vendors, and I thank all of our vendors for coming. You guys are wonderful. And I'll see you next month.
Another Tuesday night, beautiful Tuesday night here in the great state of Alabama. Feels amazing. Cold mornings, brisk mornings, and gets a little warm in the evenings, but not too warm this evening. But whether it does or whether it doesn't, you still need to check out Watkins Heating and Cooling for all your heating and cooling needs in North Alabama. That's Watkins Heating and Cooling. Reach out to Brad Watkins of Watkins Heating and Cooling. He is the sponsor of Road to the Blue Map, the premier sponsor of Road to the Blue Map, also Countertop Creations. Check those guys out for any of your countertop needs in and around the Etowah, Calhoun counties, any of these areas. You want to check out Countertop Creations. They are going to do our game-by-game breakdowns today. Coach Beckett, how are you, buddy?
Hey, cold weather? You talking about cold weather? You know what you think of? You know what you think? You think? Oh yeah, it's the weather. Hey, it's football.
Yes.
It goes hand in hand.
Fire and football and pumpkin everything. A lot of the women's drinking pumpkin everything.
Pumpkin spice and their coffee, all that bull crap.
Everything. But let's get into what we love to do best, which is break down games. And today we're going to start out 1, go to 7, and we're going to work our way back and forth across these classifications to continue mixing it up. And we're going to kick this thing off right here. We're talking about Victory Christian, who is sitting here at 4-2 on the season. They're traveling over here to Donahoe, not too far from us right here. Victory is a 6-point favorite in this one. Chandler, what do you see? Tell us a little bit about this football game.
All right, so it's a weird 6-team region. Donahoe at 2-5 has kind of seemed lifeless at times, but coming off a big win. Donahoe needs to win one of their last 2 region games. They play Victory Christian this week. They get Woodland the next week. And if they win one of those 2, I feel like they're in the playoffs. Kai Kleckler, Beef Johnson, Hayes Farrell need to play really well for the Falcons to have an opportunity to win those ball games. We talked about the job that Coach Griffin's done at Victory Christian. They're much improved. They've got the option offense that's very difficult to stop. You don't see it a whole lot anymore. A win this week against Donahoe would pretty much solidify them being in the playoffs at 3-2. So, again, Donahoe needs to win one of their last 2 to feel good about being in the playoffs. If they win the last 2, they're going to finish as the 3 seed in that region after looking lifeless. They feel like they can go in and win these last 3 ball games. They have Victory Christian, Woodland, and a non-region game with Cedar Bluff. They feel like they can compete. They feel like they're getting better. If Donahoe finishes 5-5 on the year and makes the 3rd seed playoff, I think that Bill Smith has to be considered as a potential coach of the year in something because they went over last year.
Yeah.
They didn't win a single football game, and now they have a chance to get in the playoffs. They got to win one of their last 2 region games, and they're pretty much in the playoffs. And then you look at the job that Coach Griffin's done at Victory Christian as well. That's a team that seemed lifeless at times too. And now they are 4-2 overall. If they win this week, would be 3-2 in the region. You got to think about him as being Coach of the Year candidate in St. Clair County and over that way as well because of the job that he's done. So it's 2 vastly improved football teams. Donahoe has played a gauntlet of a schedule, and I think that's going to help them moving forward in the rest of their games. And so I'm intrigued by this matchup. Like I said, if Donahoe wins, they're in. If Victory wins, they're in. So both of these teams could end up being playoff teams depending on who takes care of business and who doesn't.
Matt really, I coached with him a year at Sylacauga. After being a head coach at Sylacauga, you dealing with a roster of about 85. He was at Thompson. He was Pell City's head coach. He was with these huge rosters. Here he is at Victory, and I'm going, which I've been some small ball and I've been some big ball. But I said, all right, tell me about it. And he goes, it's, you go to kick and you start running out of players, as the game goes. It was such a different animal to him. He said, but I'm loving it. It's the purest form. You're teaching both sides, where before he was just one side. They've scored 174 points. They moved the ball all year. Really big game. It's great for both of them to still be in that area race. as you go, 6-point favorite victory. Let's see how it turns out.
Beckett, keep it right here with you. Galesville lost a heartbreaker last week in a game they fought their guts out. Spring Garden is just having one of those magical runs right now and look like they're definitely back to form. They end up losing that ball game, but they're a 2-point favorite right here, and they got to travel over to Raglan. Both of these teams desperately need a win right here. How do you see this one playing out?
They're battle tested. If in who they played. Lost their center this week, got injured. Alex Beatty's been their guy all year. Really had spectacular numbers. Outscored opponents 220 to 158. This rivalry goes way back. Raglan won it in 21, 40 to 14, and leads the series 24 to 17. But battle tested, they played Valley Head. It's been in and out of top 10. Appalachian's a top 10 kind of team. Verbena was undefeated at the time, and then we know what Spring Garden is. They played some really good people and played with every one of them. There again, though, Raglan, they're coming home, man.
Yeah.
We talk about the job that they're doing over there. This is a goodie to keep an eye on because of their successful late. Raglan's your favorite.
Hey, can I give y'all some my trigonometry stuff that I wrote down today on this region?
Let's hear it.
If Raglan beats Galesville, they're eliminated from playoff contention. Galesville is, if my math is right. If Galesville beats Raglan and wins out the rest of their games, Raglan beats Ider, and Appalachian beats Valley Head, there would be a 3-way tie for the last 2 spots in that region with a really good football team not getting in. If Raglan wins out, Appalachian beats Woodville and Valley Head, and Valley Head beats Appalachian, there would be a 3-way tie for the 2nd spot in that region. So there's a whole lot of crazy situations here. Galesville still can take care of business. If they win out in the region they're in, they got to take care of business, though, against a Raglan team that's much improved. But there's some crazy situations and some crazy things that can go on here in this. So Galesville plays Raglan and Woodville. If you win Raglan, you feel pretty good about the other one. I'm not trying to talk about Woodville like that, but I'm just facts are facts at this point of the year. Raglan plays Galesville and Ider. Same situation. If they beat Galesville, you feel pretty good about the Ider game. Valley Head still plays Appalachian. Appalachian still plays Woodville and Valley Head. So a lot of meaningful football games still left
to play
in that region.
A lot of meat on the bone.
We feel pretty good with Spring Garden, which we'll get to that game in a minute. I don't want to spoil
Let me
it for
ask you
nobody.
guys, too, because there's no easy way. I've seen 73 teams didn't make it. I've seen 3 and 7 teams are in the playoffs, and
Yeah.
you're going, they don't. And then you've seen people that scheduled tough get punished because they lost and they didn't get the points in the tiebreakers, and people that played really weak games, get points, and then, Georgia sometimes will have a 3-way tie. They'll come on Monday after the season, and they'll play a quarter round robin, loser leave town.
Yeah.
What's the idea? What do you think? And I don't exactly know the answer.
Can I answer this one?
Yes.
I think if you're, and this is no shot at anybody around here, because I know everybody always takes things. If you're not getting challenged in region, you got to schedule up. If you're a team that's dominant and you're playing in a region that you feel like you're going to handle business, you got to schedule up. Because what you don't want to do is roll over into the playoffs and speed be a factor, like something you hadn't seen all year.
Yeah.
But now, if you're going to be battle tested in that region throughout the year, I think you want to schedule somebody that's going to challenge you, but not maybe beat you to death. Somebody that maybe you can get a couple of guys in, but you're going to have to show up and play to beat them.
Going back to your question, though, I think I love the way ours sets up because there's some regions that it's just unbelievable, and then at some regions that are not very good, and then you get a playoff time, and all of a sudden you got this region winner who's in a dogfight with a 4 seed, or that region just gets completely swept, and so it all kind of evens out in all of it. But like as we move along today, you'll see even more that there's going to be good football teams that are eventually not going to make the playoffs.
Well, let me throw this at you too. If you are one of these 3 or 4 seeds and you do win that football game, you inherit that slot. People don't look at it like that. They always look at it, well, man, they got to play so-and-so. Yeah, but if they get that victory, get ready for a deep run because it's about to happen.
No doubt.
And usually that, and look, and I'm talking about throughout history. I know we're only in 2 games in. We've been going 10 minutes. We got to get rolling. But how many times have we seen this 3A Region 6 right here go in the fourth.
They're all playing
and
each
they're all
other.
playing each other
in the quarters.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
how often we see that?
I see it all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
That's my point. Is like if you're in that kind of region, why would you go schedule somebody that's going to beat you to death? You know what I mean? All right, here we go. Beckett, right back to you. You mentioned Appalachian earlier. They're a heavy favorite this week. They're a 24-point favorite going to our favorite pronounced team on our list of teams, Louisville. Beckett, talk to us about this one.
All right, hey, Appalachian. They just, if you're them, you got to take care of business, be physical, run the football, and get better. But you got to be able to, Woodville's not a terrible team. They're a team that can put up a fight. How long? Don't know. But you can't get into one of those 4 and 5, 6 turnover games. 5 lost a football game that they turned the ball over endlessly. You're not going to win, do that. So they got to protect the football. And do a really good job tackling the space, blocking and tackling, doing those things. And proceed, because I think they have a chance to, and stay healthy this year. They've got a chance to make a run.
The good thing about it is Appalachian wraps up a playoff spot with a win in this game. The good thing for Louisville is everybody at this table now knows how to say their name properly. And
there's
so
a positive, and you
there's
find
a
a
positive in
anywhere.
everything. You got to
like
find a positive, and so you got to find positives in everything. I've learned that in life.
Beckett, this next one, I think maybe this was almost the biggest line on the this week is going to be Spring Garden. They're going to be hosting Eider 0-7, Spring Garden 8-0, coming off that big win versus Galesville last weekend. And again, Spring Garden is having a typical what we know Spring Garden has run. They're head of their region. They're playing great football on both sides. They're comfortable. Coach Ragsdale now. They got a lot of good things going on. Eider has been opposite of that so far this year. And I love Coach Grant. He's a great friend of mine. Every time I see him, I hug his neck. Great guy. I love TD. Tyler Dalton's one of my good friends. But at this point of the season, you couldn't be at two more opposite ends of the spectrum, so to speak. But
yeah, and they're
on.
That's a tough thing, getting kids to continue to play and try to get better and challenge them. If you're on the Eider end, if you're on the Spring Garden end, head coach asked me this week, hey, in a similar kind of game, what do you get out of these? I said, you get a lot out of it. Focus on yourself. You back off somewhat. Almost spring training like. You compete in practice a lot. You focus on your young guys. Sometimes these second halves, if you noticed Nick Saban's second half of games when they're way ahead, man, he was coaching them, those next year players, as hard as the guys that was playing. So I think you can get a lot out of it if you're Spring Garden and really focus on yourself and really challenge. If you're a coach, you're challenging technique. And, hey, we know about the Welches. We know they've got some good kids, and I think Coach Ragsdale will get a lot out of this.
The good thing about Spring Garden is they were tested last week.
Yeah.
I mean, they only beat Galesville 27-12. Galesville is another team that could be scary if they get into the playoffs. I know we've already got past them, but they really played well against Spring Garden. So I think this week Spring Garden's practice may be amped up a little bit. It's tough to overlook an opponent and all that whenever you play. I'm pretty sure coach is going to have pedal to the metal this week at practice, and so I look for them to improve. And anytime you win, but you still get stuff on film that you can work on this late in the year, it's a good thing for a coach.
Coach Knapp does a great job. He runs into a number situation, and you say, well, don't make excuses. Well, when you got male classes of 12 I'm talking about school male class. I'm not talking about on the team male class. That's not a lot to pick from. They run into a numbers thing. If you're playing them in a jamboree or half, they're pretty sporty.
Yeah.
Till you take them to 4.
And if you've ever been out there and watched them play, I went out there and watched them coach. I've also been over to Georgia. Have you ever seen what he does in Georgia? He takes the kids for a summer camp out there in Georgia, and they stay, I believe it's 2 days, and they sleep there out in the sun, out in the heat and the tents and everything. They work out. They do Bible study. He feeds them. They do a lot of Bible study. So it's fantastic. I actually went over there with Coach Knapp to see that one time. It was one of my best memories since I've been in doing Average Joe's was to go out there with Galesville and see that firsthand. We're going to jump up to 7A. Both you guys are going to touch on this game right here. Bob Jones, they're trying to turn that corner population-wise in their school or numbers-wise. One of the largest 7A schools, one of the largest schools in the state of Alabama. They used to be really good. They went down. Now they're trying to come back up. Somebody's begging to take the reins there in that Huntsville area and be dominant in football. They're taking on Albertville, who's been struggling this year. They're 0-7 on the year. Bob Jones, heavy favorites. I'll let you kick it off, Chandler.
Okay. First off, I've got a statement, and then I've got a question. You talked about Bob Jones probably going to finish at least 5-5 on the year, which is a step in the right direction. Bob Jones has always had some pretty good talent, but like you said, kind of roller coaster ride for them. So I think they can probably take care of business against an Albertville team that's struggling, but then they get a really good Huntsville team the next week who's been playing pretty well this year. My question to you is, Albertville's been in some games this year. They've had a chance to win 2 or 3 ball games. What's going to have to happen in Albertville for them to kind of take that step forward?
You know, being up there pretty regularly and seeing what's transpiring there, the facilities are there.
Yeah, man, I think administration is pouring into it.
They're pouring into it. They're
The
pouring
city's
time and
pouring
effort.
into it.
And you know them and watching them hire, Coach Smallwood on the basketball side of things is a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
They're trying to get the pieces in place there. I think, I'm going to be honest with you, I think it's going to be one of those things where it's a lot of gritting teeth and, hey, we're getting it done with what we have here. It's going to be a lot of sacrificing on kids' parts, parents' parts. It's one of those things you got to go back meat and potatoes. If you watch the movie Rocky Balboa, he come in there and he said, we want to train this way, we can't. We don't have it. We want to train this way, we can't. We got to go to blunt force trauma. You know, I think Albertville's probably going to have to go to that.
Yeah.
They're fixing to have to go to old school tactics to get this thing turned around.
I think that, when you cut on the film and watch them play, it feels like they're playing really hard. It feels like coaching is doing a pretty good job, and they've got some guys that's got some decent stats. They've been able to throw the ball around a little bit. But I think you're right. I think it's going to take some Paul Benefield, Scott Martin type of old school, be able to line up in the Ugly Eagle and slow down the game, limit possessions on the other side, and it's going to have to be ugly at first. I think you're exactly right.
You're going to have to outshape everybody.
Yeah.
And then that one game you get into where you're probably outmatched, but you're in a little bit better shape and you outlast them.
Yeah.
You get that win, and then you start one foot in front of the other. That's my opinion how I would approach it.
Yeah, and like speaking from experience, it is so hard and then you get in the games, you feel like you have a chance, and if you win that game, you feel like it could be a program-changing game. But then when you end up falling on the short end of those games, it just makes it more and more difficult and makes things even more just for players, coaches, everybody involved who are giving it everything they got. It's just so debilitating when that happens.
100%.
You know, and I talked to a coach in a similar situation, smaller school, today that was frustrating. These are, can't say it enough, this is tough. We're a microwave society, and these are not short-term fixes. Not at all. You've got to be there for a long period of time.
Yeah.
How many of us, and listen, I've gone through it, some bad programs. There was times I'm sitting there going, Job stayed with God. I was like, God, this is rough. And it is, you got to be there for the long haul. You've got to be blinders on. You got to be that mule with blinders. And listen, you've got to start at a young age and run them through. You've got to get community involvement. Now, you got to get outside the box. You were talking about offensively. I think you get outside the box in everything you do, because if you're Albertville and you're trying to beat the Bob Jones of the world doing what they do, you're not going to do it. I mean, they're too established, or 7-8. You go toward Birmingham and it really gets hairy. I liked your other question too, Bob Jones. Huntsville, somebody has got to take the reins there at some point. That is now our most populated city. It is past Birmingham. We're not counting suburbia, but last year, number one now city inside the city limits is Huntsville. So you have got a gold mine there that somebody has got to step up. And I don't know who that strong team is, but the potential to be the Hoover is Bob Jones. Interesting.
Similar setup with them.
Very similar setup. And so that's interesting too. Great coaches at Albertville, really good spot players. And again, you just got to keep on keeping them.
Let's jump up to 2A. Yeah, get y'all's notes ready to roll.
I'm ready.
Beckett, let's kick us off with you. Coach Heath and company sitting here at 3-4, about to take on a Cedar Bluff team that's 2-6. Coach Heath, the mustache and all, 5-point favorite this week. Talk to us about this game.
Well, and that's a tricky one. You know, it's kind of gone back and forth all the time between the two teams. So it is very tricky to see. I'm
You've been in
curious.
this rivalry before.
I've been in this rivalry. It's a really good one. Cedar Bluff leads it 35-33. All right, Cedar Bluff won last year, 28-7, after a 3-4 year winning streak by Sandrock. Sandrock had a good 3-game winning streak, but here they are on the 3-game skid, you know, and they're in that roller coaster mode. You know, they got to find a way to come back out of that pit. Now, part of it's who they played, in playing Explosive Collinsville team, which is they're better than that. And Coach Heath was really upset about just how they played. And then obviously Pisgah's really good.
Other than the Collinsville game, though, none of those losses are just. They lost by 20 to Pisgah. They lost by a touchdown to Pleasant Valley. None of those are just embarrassing. Other than I don't know what went wrong for them in Collinsville. That
was the egg of the whole year for them. Just to be honest with you. But rivalries are a little bit different. Obviously, both teams have give up more points. Sandrock's, Sandrock's outscored opponents 166-105. Cedar Bluff's been outscored 134-270. So if you sit there and I probably crunch more numbers doing this show than I did ever as a coach, but it really is a huge insight. If you're Cedar Bluff, you've got to slow some people down. You can't get into track meets. You're just not scoring enough points to make it add up. They do have a couple really good players in Jenkins and Stallings and some of those guys. Garrett Crane, I believe a whole lot in him, having coached with him. He's a bright coach, but they cannot get in a track meet with Sandrock. You know, it's a 5-point spread, but I think it can go either way, and Cedar Bluff's fighting for their life here.
Yeah, Cedar Bluff comes in at 2-3 in the region. Sandrock comes in at 2-2. A loss for Cedar Bluff, and they're pretty much out of playoff contention. A Sandrock win and a Gaston loss, and Sandrock seals their playoff hopes. So a lot to play for. Cedar Bluff, if they win, you feel pretty confident in them getting in, but there's a whole lot going on in that region. And so it's a tough one.
Good segue, Chandler. Pisgah, 7-0, going to Gaston.
Well, Gaston
2-5.
is also eliminated from playoff contention with a loss. So Gaston's going to have to find something deep down in their soul and really play well and to have a chance to get into the playoffs there. Like I said, Gaston would be eliminated.
Break that game down for us. That's the next game.
When you get Pisgah 7-0, man, beat a really good 5 team, has been pretty dominant all year long. Was close for a half with Plainview, but then kind of widened the gap there in the second half. Luke Gilbert's played well for them all year long. We know what kind of job Coach Pruitt does there, and they're a really good football team. They're one of the favorites in Class 2A, a top 5 football team in Class 2A. There's some matchups that we're already looking forward to with Pisgah in the playoffs. We feel pretty confident about Pisgah and their ability to win football games. They've been dominant against every region foe that they've played so far. Gaston comes into the game 2-5. Gaston is, let me look at this, make sure I don't mess it up. Gaston is 1-3 in the region so far, so a loss would make them 1-4. A loss would kind of kick them out of playoff contention there. But here's the thing. We've seen crazier things happen. We're still just barely a week out from Alabama losing to Vanderbilt. We saw Ohatchee beat Welborn, an undefeated Welborn last week. We saw a Weaver beat a Locust Fort last week. We've seen crazy things happen. That's why you play the game. But on paper, obviously Pisgah is a better football team than Gaston. It's going to take a big game from Keller Skaggs for Gaston if they're going to have a chance to win the football game.
You could see Vandy trending. You know, they're playing a lot of close games and getting some big wins. Gaston's got to get a little more consistent. They've been outscored 196-130, and at Spite have moved the ball and scored some points. But they're giving up all but one game. They've given up 30 more, points. They've got to find a way to, again, upset recipe is you got to get turnovers. You got to have prolific plays, and then once the momentum's going, you got grind it. Something outside of time of possession has to get one-sided and that kind of thing.
Beckett, keeping it right here in the county that we live in with you, Coosa Christian, 7-1 on the year, has been absolutely playing dominant football. Traveling over to take on Matt Harris and company and Walnut Grove. 47-point line on this one. Talk to us about this game.
Yes, and from the West End side of things, they get to build off of kind of exciting. They got in the win column, which is really good, and that was really good for them. They much needed win for them, and you just got to keep trending and trying to, as you close it out, get better. Coosa, and I got to go over there for a little while yesterday, and we were talking some of the same things. You got to keep challenging yourself, get better each week. Faceless opponent, some of that kind of stuff. Jalen Terry last week, 71 yards. Clete Bryant getting a carry, 2 carries of 32 yards, showing he's more than just a defensive guy.
He had 16 tackles and went over 500 tackles for his career last week.
Yes.
Well.
J.D. Justice, 9 of 10 for 156 yards. He's a really big guy. Seen him in person. He's even thicker and bigger than I thought. Jalen Terry had a catch. Eli Moats, 4. L.J. Mostella, 2 catches, 21 yards. Obviously doing some really good things, but like you say, defense seems to be where it's really happening. And man, we can't say enough. What a career, what a season for Clete Bryant. And their numbers defensively are just phenomenal.
Does anybody know if he's like one of the leading tacklers in Etowah County history?
He's the number one.
He's number one.
Yeah, I made that post on Average Joe's. He's number one in Etowah County, and I think he's 11 overall, something like that. Moving up the list, he's got half a season left if they continue winning like they are.
Hey, Coosa's got a huge matchup next week with Tuscaloosa Academy.
Yep, a faceless opponent. Mark O'Brien says.
Well, I'm not the coach, so I can.
Hey, here's a little sneaky good game right here. Pleasant Valley, 6-2. Traveling up to North Sand Mountain, who's also, are they 6-2 or 5-2 on the year?
They're 5-2 on the year,
It's a
but both of these teams are 3-1 in the region, and a win here, a win for Pleasant Valley, and they will host a first-round playoff game for the first time in school history. North Sand Mountain.
That's pretty cool.
North Sand Mountain still has an outside chance to win the region with wins in their last 2 ball games. They play Pleasant Valley this week, and then they play Pisgah. We talked about the mountain of Pisgah and how difficult that would be, but they still have that out in front of them. North Sand Mountain is a team that's playing really well right now, and it's at North Sand Mountain. That could be the difference in the ball game. But Pleasant Valley has found ways to win. They're a very gritty group. Braxton Salster moved away and is now playing like an H-back and playing a lot more defense. Jaden Sparks is playing really well at quarterback and had probably his best game last week. Pleasant Valley had Braden Papa. They've got a lot of really good players that play the game for each other. They're not going to wow you with how they play the game, but they are going to wow you with how they play it for each other and how they continuously find ways to win. I'm kind of surprised that North Sand Mountain is favored in this ball game because Pleasant Valley has a big win over Sandrock early in the year. When you look at common opponents, North Sand Mountain got beat by Sandrock, if I'm not mistaken. And so when you look at common opponents, I'm a little surprised that North Sand Mountain is the favorite, but I'm intrigued by this ball game. I think it's going to be a great ball game, and like I said, what a win it would be if Pleasant Valley found a way to win that ball game, was able to host a playoff game for the first time in school history.
Cleveland at Falkville. We got one more before we go to commercial break here.
Falkville's been pretty well. Cleveland coming off of facing one of the best teams in Class 2A. I'm intrigued by that matchup, but I think Falkville, 26-point favorite, I think Falkville's going to have a chance to win that one. I think Falkville, like I said, Falkville is one of the only teams that's played Coosa decent. Now, they gave up a couple of scores early, but then the game kind of evened out. So I'm intrigued by Falkville, and I think that they can be a playoff team and may surprise some people when they get in the Class 2.
Beckett, you ever crunching numbers on something? What is it before we go commercial break?
Oh, no, I was just looking through. I'm looking through these races. They're starting to come together. It's really exciting and interesting, some of the things that you had covered. So they all matter now. It is play-in game time. So
Can I make an announcement?
Yeah.
Coach Beckett is on his phone crunching numbers the entire time. He is not being rude. He don't mean anything by it. He just is. He's old school. He likes having his phone. He's got more information on there than Rain Man, and so that's why he has it out.
Not my first comparison to Rain Man, but probably not in a good way. But yeah, I've caught flack from principal buddies, and hey,
I knew you caught flight. That's why I was giving you that.
It's where my information is.
That's why I was giving that side note for you.
Rain Man Chandler and I is going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back.
At DVP Auto Group, we have a wide selection of any type of car you could want. We offer financing for all types of credit. Not only can we help you to purchase a car affordably, but we can help you with any issues you may experience with your car as well. We provide oil change, tire repair, brake service, or anything else you may need. We also gladly accept trade-ins, and if you're willing, we can help you drive away in a new car the same day. If you don't see something you like in the lot, we'll help you find one, whether you buy from us or not. Come see us today.
At Southern States Bank, we pride ourselves on being your bank. We're your neighbors and involved in the community. We're the bank featuring the Southern Rewards checking account, a cashback account with no ATM fees. We are on the cutting edge and always have a smiling face to help you out. So come to Southern States Bank, where we are committed to great service and being a great neighbor. Let us be the bank for you and your business.
At Bentley Prosthetic and Medical Supply, we care about you. We offer custom prosthetics, orthotics, diabetic shoes, and durable medical supplies. We're located here in Alexandria, Alabama, where it's a country feel but professional care. Come see us today.
The Point at JSU is an off-campus student housing property located a half a mile away from Jacksonville State University. The Point offers fully furnished, pet-friendly, 2-bedrooms and 4-bedroom units. Resident experience is our #1 priority, therefore we do offer the following amenities: a resort-style pool, fitness center, basketball and volleyball court, and dog park. We would love for you to come see our property, so give us a call at 256-376-8317 to schedule a tour today.
All right, we're back. Not trying to hit my inner, what's his name? All right.
Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, what was his name in the show? I can't remember it. Trying to think of his name and Days Confused. If you know it, put it in the comments. It'll come to me in a minute. All right, guys, we're going to kick this thing up to 6A right here. There's some big football games right here in 6A in this part of the state. There's a couple of them that's local there in Etowah County where we're from. There's one going to be right here in Calhoun County that is probably, without question, the biggest game in the state. Either this game that we're about to be talking about coming up or the Hoover-Thompson game is going to be the two biggest games in the state, in our opinion, and I will take the Pepsi challenge on that. But Beckett, let's kick this thing off with what I like to call a massive monumental game that's going to be taking place in Etowah County. And we're talking about Southside and Gadsden City. For years and years, fans of both sides wanted to see that football game. Never got it worked out. Now they have to play there in the same region. Interesting football game coming in right here, Beckett. The Panthers are having to travel over to Titan Stadium. They've turned things around. They're now 4-3 on the year. Talk to us about this football game.
Hey, and you know, I just happened to be last year in Coach Smith's at Gadsden City's office, and they were kind of negotiating that day back. They were close to playing. You know, it finally Southside, and it's a credit Southside working their program toward Gadsden City, and so it was about to happen. It almost happened the time before. I think it's really good for football in Etowah County, #1. I think it's really good for both schools. You got to realize when you're Gadsden City, you've been 7A, you're traveling to Huntsville. Or when I was there, we were in the region of death in Birmingham. Well, the kids they don't have anybody they hang out with at the mall or any of that kind of stuff. They don't know anybody in common with those schools that are so far away.
Yeah,
or very
7A
few.
region 3.
Yeah, very few. All right, and in 6A right now, when you're in Huntsville, you know very few of those kids. So I think it is great. It's a great thing to see. And I think, obviously, when you look commonly in that Southside place, Fort Payne just didn't close the deal from winning that one. And then Fort Payne beats Gadsden City. So you got to say, hey, could this be a game? Credit to the Southside staff and players. They have trended upward. First of the year, not a very good football team, but they're getting a new coach, you're just making that transition. You know, and I asked Coach yesterday. I went to Southside and watched a little bit of film and hung out, and I said, hey, how's this thing getting better? We're just getting to know each other. I'm understanding the team, and so really excited. On Gadsden City's end, TJ Worthy last week, 7 carries, just 7 carries, had 134 yards, 3 touchdowns. Catches the ball, sneaky good receiver, 3 catches, 38 yards, 2 touchdowns. So that's 5 total for him. Kyle Franklin, 7 of 9, great game manager, brilliant kid, 157 yards, 3 touchdowns. Alex Swafford, the speedster, 4 catches, 131 yards, had a touchdown. And Chris Tomas was 2 for 2 with field goals. They're excited about some Ty Sims and Chris Butler, some young guys that are beginning to come up. And they're listing the keys is, hey, we gotta create turnovers, and got to protect the football. The giveaway takeaways where they think it may come down to, and it's a protect the city game.
No doubt, 100%. Kick this one over to you right here. Let's go ahead and dive into it.
Let's do it.
Let's get it on.
Let's do it to it.
I bet you broke this one down 3 ways from Sunday. We're talking about Clay Chalkville, who is traveling over here to Oxford, Alabama. Defending 6A state champions are a 5-point favorite, so that's under a touchdown. They're coming into a very hostile environment right over here, right over our shoulder here in Oxford. How do you see this one playing out? This is going to be a really, really good football game.
Well, I mean, Oxford has kind of figured things out as the years gone along. The biggest thing that scares me about Oxford is sometimes they start a little slow, whether it's defensively or offensively. In about every game except for a few, they've started slow. They cannot afford to start slow in this football game. They've got to play well. Clay Chalkville, though, in my opinion, is one of the biggest surprises because when you look at them losing Mbakwe and they lose the great defensive, the linebacker that's now at Auburn, like when you look at that and who they lost off of last year's state championship team, how are they still as dominant? And how do they continue to do what they do? I will say this, they do play at Oxford. Here's my biggest question, and I may get in trouble for saying this, but I can say this because I'm not a coach. Is Oxford fans going to just show up and it's going to be a social hour, or are they going to show up and actually have an impact on the football game? And I mean that with all sincerity. I mean that.
Went to school there,
I'm an
so
Oxford guy. I know what the crowd was like when I played, and it hadn't been that way. And I hate to sound like that. I hate to sound like back in the good old days because I'm not that kind of guy.
Yeah.
But are you going to show up and make it to where it is a home field advantage, a 12th man? Or are you going to just show up, shake hands, kiss babies, say toodaloos to everybody, and then be done with it? You need to show up. You need to be loud. You need to have an impact on the football game. And the kids deserve it that are playing at Oxford right now. They're 7-0. They got a chance to win a region championship. And if you win this game, the champion sets up a lot better than the second place team. The second place team has to go through the region champion of this region, but not only that, they have to go through Parker before they even get back to the region champion. So your playoff run gets a lot more difficult. Can Mason Mims be the dude that we know he is? We feel like he's one of the best football players in the area. Can Keenan Brett have his way in the ball game on the defensive side of the ball? Can the Taylor kid make plays, Jalen Taylor make plays at receiver? Can they continue to run the ball well? Does your offensive line, the biggest thing for Oxford is they ain't been healthy up front all year round. They've been playing backups on different places defensively and especially the offensive line. Can they get healthy in the off week enough that they had last week to be able to come in here and stand toe for toe with one of the best teams in Class 6A? I'm excited about the matchup. I've been stuck at the radio station doing the halftime report and the post-game school board show every Friday night. I will make it to this game, but the crowd's got to be the 12th man.
I'm going to be honest with you. The best thing that could happen to Oxford is having Moody come there earlier this year.
Yeah.
Because that gives them a very similar look, and I honestly do think what their takeaways from that game, because it's going to be a similar athletic style. This is going to be one of those games like that where not every possession, every snap matters.
Yeah, I think that you said it best. I think that's a good comparison, because I think Mountain Brook was a tough comparison for a tough matchup for Oxford, because Mountain Brook is big and physical up front on the opposite side of the ball, and if Oxford has a weakness, it's going to be that they're undersized on their front seven defensively. I don't think that that's an issue here. I think it's going to be a spread, athlete-type offense, and I think Oxford matches up good with there. If you get in a passing situation and Keenan Britt's able to peel his ears back and blitz the quarterback, that's a good situation for them. The Fleming kids are really good football players as well. The Tapley kids play really well at linebacker. And so I'm excited about it. I think that Clay Chalkville's a very good football team. But I also don't know if they've been tested like they're going to get tested at Lamar Field on Friday night.
It's going to be awesome. Beckett, kicking this thing over to you. Let's break this Pell City at Pinson Valley game down.
Yeah. Hey, how about I think Pell City, I think they're on the verge of something. I do really think they're close.
They're sitting here at 3-4 on the year.
Yeah, they're still battling.
They're favored in this one.
Talking about Pell City?
Yeah, and
Pell City wins this, they're in the playoffs.
Yeah, and
Think about that.
That's huge. That tells you the strides. That continues on what the quest was that started last year. They're getting coached up, and it was just a matter of getting the right players, right place, people out of the hallways, that kind of stuff. So, man, kudos to them to be a favorite against Pinson. It's won however many 3-4 titles in the last 10 years or so. So that's just a statement for them. I just kind of want to stop and make a statement, because people were giving them up for dead. And to get them in the playoff, year two of that journey, right on.
After the Coosa game, people, like you said, just kind of walked away from them and said, man, they got beat by 2A. That ain't a normal 2A they got beat by, and I agree with you. They've gotten better since then.
I think they're going to – they should take care of business.
Yeah. They're favored.
They took care of business last week. Every game is a must-win game for them now. Just take care of business. Like, you got it in your own hands. You've already played the tough part of your schedule. Win and you're in.
Let's talk about this team right here. Talk about taking care of business. Another team that was sort of left on the mat, left for dead, was Fort Payne earlier when this season started.
They started out 0-2.
And now look at them.
When you talk about them starting out 0-2, you got to look at, and I don't want to mess this up, so I'm about to look this up. You got to look at who they started out playing. Now, that they didn't start out with they started out with Scottsboro and they started out with Gunnersville. They started out with two of the best teams in Class 5A. They lost to what we know now is a really, really good Gunnersville team. We saw them play in action last week, up close and personal, where they beat a really good Scottsboro team 34-3, if I'm not mistaken. They lost by 4 points in the SAIC game of the year to them. They're a team, for some reason, that starts slow every year, but for some reason, Coach Elmore figures it out, and they end up playing well. They've won 5.
They were on the mat against Southside, remember?
They won
down
5 of their
14-0.
last straight. They were down 14-0 or 13-0 against Southside, and came back and I think scored twice in the fourth quarter. Maybe it was in the second half.
So.
And then they've been rolling ever since. They're a team that was a huge win for them last week over Gadsden City. And they kind of controlled and dominated Gadsden City the entire ball game. That was a huge win for them. Now they get Hazel Green, should win that one. Then they get Lee of Huntsville, should win that one. Then they get Pelham, should win that one. That's a team that's going to close out the year after starting 0-2. They should finish 8-2 and have a chance to really do some damage in the playoffs. They're going to be with the win last week, I feel pretty confident in saying that they're going to be the region champion in that region. They've already beat Southside and they've already beat Gadsden City in that, and that's the two competitors for that region. I feel like, in my opinion, they should take care of Hazel Green this week. But Coach Elmore, like I've already said, does a great job. Dax Varnador at quarterback is always consistent. We've been talking about him for 2 years. He feels like a household name now. But they got some other dudes. I think they play an old school brand of football, from the style of their jerseys all the way down to the style of football they play. They can spread you out, but they still are physical and play well defensively. And so I think, man, like you said, a lot of us left them for dead after the first couple of ball games. But they are really rolling right now when it actually matters.
Go ahead.
I don't know. I'm just going to say I'm just really impressed. As you said, their points per game is way up. You look at people like Carter Tinker, scoring on offense and 8 tackles and 4 assists and tackles for loss and sacks and pass breakups, and then scores 2 touchdowns. And they've got some guys really stepping up. Monumental that was a hurdle of all hurdles for them to beat Gadsden City, because that's something that hadn't happened And Hazel Green's it's a 4-4 lifetime. I take history in consideration, although Fort Payne won handily last year, 35-14. But like you say, they have got coaches figured it out, and Varnador and Blaylock and Caden Adams, and I mean they've got some guys that are stepping up that are playing well.
All right, let's go up to 3A right here. We're going to jump up to 3A. And Beckett, let me know when you're ready. We'll let you kick this thing off here.
Well,
we're going to talk about. Let's start with Asbury Sylvania. Asbury got a huge win last week, 5-2 on the year, taking on an 0-8 Asbury team. Heavy favorites in this one. Talk to us about this one.
Yeah, kind of a emotional big win last week for Sylvania because it should clinch a home playoff spot, and really played well. I mean, it wasn't. It was a game that was over pretty quick, and it was a game that people thought might go down to the last couple of plays. So.
I'm going to tell you, if it don't clinch a home playoff spot, I'm calling Tanner Nelson, and me and him are having some words. I'm going to leave it at that, where I don't get none of us in trouble. But
rat poison, Coach. Rat poison.
No, it ain't no rat poison.
No,
I'm looking at what they've already done. I'm looking at who they've already played. I'm looking at who they got coming up.
Same
they
team.
They should be able to host a playoff game.
Yes, rat poison now. No, you're 100% right. And there again, talking to him earlier, I agree what you're saying. Same thing we've talked about some of these others in that same situation. Challenge yourself, compete, continue to get better, because, hey, the storm's coming, Pisgah's coming, whoever that first round is, and I kind of want to hear from you in a minute to untangle the Calhoun County end of things, because they're going to have to play somebody really good from the Piedmont region.
Yeah.
You're 100%.
Good luck untangling that net.
Yeah, and that's yes, exactly. So they make him breathe right now, but they're coming. But great job. Aiden Parham did it again last week. Didn't even finish a game, but did a tremendous job. I thought they rallied around a great defensive effort. They're doing some really good jobs on both sides of the football. I'm excited to see how they do down the stretch.
Right here with you again, Beckett. Brindley, 1-7, traveling to Collinsville. Collinsville definitely needs to get back on the winning track after last week. Heavy favorites in this one. Go ahead and
Collinsville's, I think, really good offensively. From seeing that game last week, they just defensively pieces and still kind of trying to find, and sometimes it's Rob and Peter pay Paul to move people around. Skylar Ray there on the defense, and we'll shout out to him, having coached him, and he's a fire eater, and he's really plugging to get it right on the defensive end. They do score points, and they're a team that I've thought all along if they get the right chemistry and the right person here and there, I thought they could get a win in the playoffs. And definitely a big-time quarterback, big-time arm, a couple of really good receivers. So there again, a chance to get things right this week for them.
Right here with you, Chandler, Holly Pond, 3-4 is traveling to Red Devil Country. The Fife Red Devils are a 38-point favorite in this one right here. Talk to us about this one.
Yeah, you're looking at Holly Pond. They've got Fife and Collinsville left. Still a chance to get in the playoffs. Got to have a lot go their way. Got to have a lot go their way to be able to get in. But this week's going to be tough. You got Fife, and we know what Fife is made of. And Fife has took a couple of lumps, which is surprising to say this part of the year. But after each one of them, they've gotten better and better. They're starting to get healthy. That's the big thing for Fife, is getting all their guys healthy before it's time to start making a playoff run. And we know as well as anybody that it doesn't matter what Fife does in the regular season or who they get beat by. When it gets playoff time, they're going to be rolling. I feel like Fife has been pretty dominant in this region. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist or I get in trouble for saying that. You just look at the scores of the ball games, and they've been pretty dominant in this region. So I think it's going to be a tough one for Holly Pond. They need, if they want to kind of try to keep their playoff hopes alive, they need to pull off the upset. But going back to this region, like you got 5-0 Fife in the region, 4-1 Sylvania, 4-1 Geraldine, Collinsville sitting at 2-3 right now, Whitesburg Christians at 2-3, Holly Pond at 2-3, Brindley Mountain at 1-4, and Asbury at 0-5. There's still a lot that could shake out and happen in this region, but I feel pretty confident saying that Fife is your 1 seed and Sylvania is your 2 seed. If Geraldine takes care of business, they should be your 3 seed in that region. But Collinsville, we've talked a lot about them. That's going to be a dangerous team for somebody being a 4 seed, being a 1 seed, having to face Collinsville first round if Collinsville can get it done and get in.
Coach Beckett, he just mentioned Geraldine, Whitesboro Christian, 3-4 on the years, traveling to Geraldine. Michael Davis and Company's heavy favorites right here. Talk to us about this.
Hey, how about the job they're doing? They're one of my sleepers of the year, and I just feel like the job they're doing is amazing. You're sitting there with Garcia and Langford just a monster year, both offensively and defensively. Adams, Bryant, Franklin, man, they have had some dudes that have really stepped up. And obviously, I feel like they've been coached really well and able to get to, Joe Garcia last week stepped up and had 132 yards. So it's more than just Langford, who was our helmet sticker guy. Let's see what they do.
Hey, let me ask you this. I know they got a loss to Sylvania, and they got 5 still left on the schedule. Are they a team that's continuing to get better and could actually make some noise when the playoff times come?
That's interesting. They're so young to
anytime,
see.
I got a comment on this. Anytime you can run the football and play defense, you got a shot.
That's great.
And they're super physical. I think they're better up front this year than they were last.
I think Michael Davis does an outstanding job.
He does a really good job of getting juice out of his kids, and he seems – people forget there was a semifinalist last year, so I really think they're a dangerous team when they get into the playoffs, no matter whatever their seed is. Because, again, if they win out, they're going to be the 2 seed, correct?
If they win out, they're going to be the 3 seed.
They're going to be the 3 seed. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to inherit somebody's 2 seed. You know what I'm saying?
But they cross with region. What region do they cross with?
They cross with the Westbrook,
Region 6.
Piedmont, yeah.
Yeah, so you talk about some good football games there.
Those are 2-3s is like, a 2 versus a 2 or a 1 in some regions.
Yeah.
The 3 in
they're a dangerous team
places.
you would not want to play in the first round of playoffs.
No doubt about it.
Because that's when they start buttering their bread, so to speak, when they get into playoff football. Right here with you, I just met with Jackson Newton a little bit ago. Got his helmet sticker. Walter Welborn, 5-1, tough loss last week. They got Locust Fort coming to town. Locust Fort looked in a little bit of disarray last week. They need to put it together, but this is going to be a hard place to do it. Is on the hill right here at Walter Welborn. When you talk to us about this game.
Well, this is the Region 6 that we just kind of interluded. Piedmont's 5-0. They've looked pretty dominant. Walter Welborn sitting at 4-1, but coming off a shocking loss to Ohatchee. We know that game was at the Creek Bank, and anything can happen at the Creek Bank. And Ohatchee's offense is scary for anybody, anytime they got to play. I think talking about Ohatchee, I think they're going to look back and kick themselves over some of the close losses that they had earlier in the year. But this is it feels like that this is a game that both of these teams need to win. You think about the 2 different directions that both of these teams could go if they lose this game, with one on being at 4-1, the other one being at 3-2. It's at the Hill in Welborn. That's a tough place to go and play as well. There's been crazy things happen there. Locust Fort dealing with a lot. I don't see Jackson Newton letting his team lose 2 weeks in a row. But this is a really good ball game. This is one of those ball games that we've been looking forward to all year. I wish that we could have seen it with both teams at full strength. But this is a ball game that I'm intrigued by. And this region right here is absolutely nuts. Right now, listen to this, y'all. Right now, Piedmont sitting at 5-0 at the top. Walter Welborn's at 4-1. Locust Fort 3-2. Westbrook Christian 3-2. JB Pennington 3-3. And then, as crazy as this, Weaver right there at 2-3, and then Ohatchee still got an outside chance because their schedule sets up pretty formidable at the end of the year for them to try to win out and finish 4-4 in the region. But a 9-team region and just stack. There's going to be a really good football team in this region that's not going to make the playoffs between Piedmont, Walter Welborn, Locust Fort, Westbrook Christian, JB Pennington, and Ohatchee. 2 of those teams are not going to make the playoffs.
A 9-team region, too. That's how
tough.
do they end up there?
That's tough.
There's maybe one other in the state, if there is another one.
The crazy thing about it is week 10, these teams are not going to know how everything shakes out till after week 10 because some of them play each other in the last regular season.
That's right.
We've got about 7 minutes to break down these 3 games. We got to get rolling right here. This is a huge game. This has got Steve Smith written all over this one, Beckett. 1-point favorite going on the road at JB Pennington. He's 5-2. Pennington's 5-3 on the year. Talk to me about this game, Beckett. Very good football game right here.
Yeah, and I mean the quarterback play is phenomenal for Westbrook. I see them as developing, and ideally what you want to do with a football team from the first day of fall camp to now, just to improve. And you got to know, really, Coach Smith they don't do spring training. They don't kill you on the back end like some. They are fresh as can be, and they're still trucking along right now and getting better week to week. So, man, their upside's pretty good. Yeah, it is an intriguing game. Pennington has some big wins this year as well. But I see Westbrook is just they got a lot of weapons, a lot of young guys that are not sophomores anymore, that are juniors, really, so to speak, experience-wise. And I see them as a tough team to play right now. It is Steve Smith is stamped all over this team.
Westbrook Christian needs to win this ball game, though, because they don't want to get caught up in some of the tiebreakers that would be going on if they get to that point.
You and I got to go out there and visit with them. Morale's up. We were there.
Morale's up.
I don't know who's in charge of their homecoming floats, but they had some of the most creative homecoming floats.
Like some of those people might be directing the Rose Bowl parade one day.
Bro, it's
That's
unbelievable.
how good they were.
I don't know if anybody's got footage or they can send us some pictures.
I got pictures on my phone.
It's we'll post some of those, but Chandler and I got to experience some of that. Man,
they do it right.
Phenomenal.
They do it right. Their facilities are nice. Their stadium's unbelievable. And you got Steve Smith there, one of the best coaches in the state. So
Piedmont
and Weaver. Can Weaver have magic again? I think that's the biggest question. I know we're running a little short on time, so I'm going to try to be quick with this. Piedmont has been dominant in year 2 under Jonathan Miller, Riley Pinto, Cole Wilson, Ish Bethel, Hayes Gunn, a ton of defensive talent. They got talent all over the field for them. Piedmont is the Piedmont that we're used to seeing. They have a really good non-region win against Cherokee County. They've been dominant inside of the region. Was tested a little bit last week against JB Pennington, but answered the call. It's going to be a tough call for Weaver, but Weaver's playing their best football of the year right now, so we'll see how that folds out.
Beckett, Ohatchee, 4-4, traveling to Glencoe. Glencoe coming off a big win, they needed bad. They got it last week. It's a 16-point line, but talk to me about this one.
You know, and talking to Coach Martin, too, this week, he was really tickled on how they played and win and getting better. And he feels like they're doing good things. It's not a miserable feeling from him. He is in a very good region. He's realistic about it. He's not saying, hey, I want to lose. That guy's won too many times to be a guy who likes losing. He wouldn't stick around if he'd like losing. But he was saying, you know, if we were in a different region, if we were in a different class, then you can't play the if and but game. I'm playing that. He would never say that publicly. But I'm kind of going, this is not a bad team, and it's not and it's not a team that stopped playing. They continue to get better. I think this is a game that people blow off, and you know, you see the 16-point spread. I'm not buying it unless Ohatchee really wins the toss and gets a bunch of points early. And now they're tough when they do that, but I can see that one being a game.
Yeah, they're the top guys. If they win the toss, they're taking the ball and they're fixing to create their own momentum and start rolling. Usually how they do it, and I don't blame them one bit. Let's jump this thing down to 5A right fast. You ready?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Sardis. I visited with B.J. Brooks today. We did his show. They got a tall order this week. They're playing the number 5 team in the state in Fairview, who's 6-0, rolling. Sardis 2-6, but coming off a big win last week. Talk to us about this game.
Huge. You can't
First
say enough.
shutout in 6 years.
Yeah, man, and that was something needed. Rival right down the road. Grant Cole, 10 tackles, 5 tackles for a loss. Levi Martin, 9 tackles, 3 tackles for a loss, 2 sacks. Some big plays later on. Defense really came up. Jacob Payne, interception. Defense allowed 35 points. I just in that game,
35 yards.
It was 35 total yards, and I didn't see that coming. I just did. I thought that was.
I thought it was a misprint.
Yeah, I didn't see this game coming.
Somebody sent me in the score on Friday night, and I said, I got to double check. I got to make sure. Like, I was afraid to send Coach Brooks the win graphic because I didn't want to seem like a douchebag.
I was afraid to tell him because
I was wanting to text him and say, man, congratulations. I had to make sure before I texted him.
That's right.
That was huge for Sardis. I was very proud for him.
Quarterback Chapman had 206 yards. Levi Martin, 28 carries, 130, 30 yards rushing. Josh Hopper, caught a touchdown pass. Big night for them. So really excited, number one, for what they did. Tall task, got to turn around and bring it this week. Let's see if they continue to progress.
Chandler, Central Clay County, they've got a pretty tough test this week. They're at Beauregard. The line's a little closer than you think it would be. It's an 11-point line, but talk to us about this.
If you like defense, this is the game for you. Both of these teams are in the top 5 in the state defensively in Class 5A, averaging giving up less than 10 points a ball game, both of them. But I think the numbers might be skewed a little bit, just because I don't know if Beauregard's played a team like Central Clay County yet. Central Clay County, to me, it's time for them to turn it on and to show why they're one of the better teams in Class 5A. I think they've been kind of cruising here lately. I'm ready for them to turn it on and see just how dominant they are before we get to the playoff. This is their opportunity to show how dominant they are on both sides of the football, and then adding in the element of the game called special teams. If they can be dominant in those 3 phases against a really good defensive Beauregard team, then I'll believe in that they've got a chance to win in Class 5A. I'm intrigued by this. It's highlighted on a sheet of paper. I love defensive football. Let's see which defense can show up and play the best.
Back at St. Clair County, 3-4 at Lincoln, who's 0-7. St. Clair's heavy favorite in this one. They've seemed to have turned the corner, been through some heavy injuries this year, but we got about a minute to break this one down.
Yeah, I just, I'm proud of what's going on at St. Clair. They're getting better, and they're playing a killer schedule, and they're sitting there at 3-4 defensively. They're doing some really, really good things. Matt Zedeker, buddy of mine, who's won several region championships at Lincoln and done well. Obviously, it's one of those struggle years for them.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we get back, we're going to finish our 5A breakdowns, go over into our 4A breakdowns, and then it's helmet sticker time. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be right back.
Come out and check out the Alabama Tractor Difference. We can take care of all your needs of parts, sales, and service for RTVs, zero turns, and tractors and construction equipment. See us here in Lincoln at 620 Speedway Industrial Drive. Or come visit us here in Asheville at 275 6th Avenue, or give us a call at 205-594-7000.
Hey, is your money future-proof? When I invest in a CD, Family Savings gives me a great rate, way better than my old savings account. Now, my money makes money, and I don't have to do a thing. Watching those numbers go up is really satisfying, and I can feel good about my family's future.
Open a CD at Family Savings Credit Union and get your best rate no matter the term. Family Savings Credit Union, your best financial friend.
At DVP Auto Group, we have a wide selection of any type of car you could want. We offer financing for all types of credit. Not only can we help you to purchase a car affordably, but we can help you with any issues you may experience with your car as well. We provide oil change, tire repair, brake service, or anything else you may need. We also gladly accept trade-ins, and if you're willing, we can help you drive away in a new car the same day. If you don't see something you like in the lot, we'll help you find one, whether you buy from us or not. Come see us today.
Hey everybody, I'm Larry May. I've been in the entertainment business for over 25 years. I've written for the local paper. I've interviewed a lot of touring artists and local artists here. And what I figured out is how much talent we have here in Alabama. That's why we put a new show together for you called Entertainment Alabama. Come watch us for the hottest new acts and some of your favorites that are national touring artists.
All right, we are back. We're going to continue our coverage here in this all-important 5A right here in this part of the state. Let's kick this one over to Chandler. Moody, 5-2, is traveling to Springville. Jake Gaines and company has definitely turned things around. Well, they've been rolling here lately, and they're a heavy favorite in this one.
They've lost 2 ball games. Let me remind you who's that's to. That's one of the best teams in our state in Class 6A. And then a Gainesville, Georgia team who would be like the 3rd biggest school in the state of Alabama, who I think is still undefeated over in Georgia as well. So the combined records for the teams that they've lost against are like 15-0. So we always knew that Moody had a chance to be one of the best teams in Class 5A. They're a 38-point favorite this week against Springville. 5-2 has been pretty dominant in region play. And Coach Jake Gaines, we really feel like he's got a team at Moody that's got a chance to win a state championship in Class 5A. But that Class 5A bracket is loaded, so they've got to continue to get better. Kind of like what you talked about, we joke about with Coach O'Brien, like playing a faceless opponent. How can they get better this week? We know that their quarterback, Charlie Johnson, is a really good player. We know that they got there for real on the defensive front. Coach Clint Smith at Jacksonville said that's the best defense that he's played in all of his years of coaching. And they've got weapons everywhere offensively. So I think Moody's just got to keep getting better and keep looking at themselves in the mirror when it comes to these games that they're supposed to win.
Beckett, let's talk about this game right here. This is a sneaky, really good game right here. Guntersville, it's a tricky game too because they're taking home this Boaz team that can score a whole lot of points. And Boaz is sitting here coming off a performance where they looked dominant last week versus Brewer. Had many guys touch the ball, Childers touchdown. They had Pierce went 14 of 20 last week. They looked dominant as always, but Guntersville again looked really dominant against a really good Scottsboro team. Talk to us about this game.
All right, Guntersville, obviously things are going great. You got to keep on keeping on. Sometimes as a coach, you're uglier in this kind of situation than any other. 200 outscored opponents 276-90, unblemished. They lead the series 55-24. 55 wins to 24 losses. Guntersville won last year 35-14. So as a coach, you got to turn around and find a way to motivate your players. You look at Boaz, man, they've done it all year as far as offensively and as far as Walker Latham. He had another 100-yard gain, 16 carries, 120 yards. Kaysen Oden, Tyler Pierce, 14 of 20, 173 yards. He does what he does. Childers, 154-yard game on the ground. So, man, they put up, like you said, good numbers all year in county, big region game, because Boaz is sitting there. They're not at the bottom now. They're second. And Guntersville seen a gauntlet of people. Can you keep getting motivated and playing well?
Yeah, how many weeks can you stay up and play aggressive?
They've been lights out.
Yeah,
but
they've
keep
done
doing
it so far this year. You're right. That's a really intriguing, really good, sneaky, really good game right there. Right here with you, let's go Douglas and Brewer at Brewer right here. I was with Coach Lyles today and talked to him, and he talked about he was really frustrated with their performance, and he said, look, it ain't just the players and such, it's coaches too. I'm taking the blame as well, but we ain't got time to lick our wounds, so to speak. This Brewer team's not an easy team to beat. We got to go play.
No, and it's definitely a win that they need. Brewers coming in 1-6. They're 1-1 lifetime between the two. Douglas won, hadn't played since '97, won 22-19, so they hadn't played in a long time. You coming off of that loss, just the opposite to me as a coach. You're building your guys back and go, hey, listen now, we're better than that. This hasn't happened all year. We've scored opponents against some really good people. We laid an egg, but let's come back, flush it. It's behind us. Come back and let's get after Brewer and be the kind of team we're supposed to be, and finish this thing strong. They got a chance to finish in a good way.
Hey, this next one I want you to talk about, Chandler. Arab at Scottsboro. These are two teams that we cover. These are two teams that's really good football teams. They mirror images of each other. Both are physical. Both want to run the ball and impose their will up front. Both play really good defense. Both have playmakers at quarterback. Both have playmakers on the edge, so to speak. How do you see this game?
Arab is a 2-point favorite, which is very surprising. Coach Kyle Routon has done a great job in year number 1 as the head coach at Arab. Scottsboro's coming off a loss to Guntersville. We talked about it, a big loss to Guntersville. I can't remember if it was you or somebody made this comment. Scottsboro does not need to let Guntersville beat them 2 weeks in a row. They need to get past that. They need to get past that loss, focused on Arab.
Yeah, one loss can't turn into two.
No, and this game,
with your head down,
this game now becomes a game that whoever wins this ball game is going to be hosting a first-round playoff game. Whoever loses is going to be going on the road, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Now, Boaz could have some say-so in that as well, but for all intentional purposes this week, if you win, you kind of put yourself in a driver's seat.
If you want to host, you better win this week.
You better win this ball game if you want to host. So you put yourself in the driver's seat to be able to host a first-round playoff game with a win this week. It's a big game.
Hey. Two of the bright young coaches in the state of Alabama.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Going at it. That's another exciting.
3 weeks ago, I never thought Arab would have came into this game being the favorite.
No.
They are.
They're tough.
That's how things change in high school football.
Yeah, you're right, man. Kudos to them because they have stepped on the throttle and they played Guntersville lights out at Guntersville, so they proved they can do it in these big games. But, man, you talk about Van versus Roughton. That's two of the best, bright young coaches any program in this state would like to have, those two guys coaching their young men. 4A, here we go. Beckett. Well, actually, either one of y'all, but both of y'all break this thing down. White Plains at Etowah, traveling to Jim Glover Field. Etowah had some guys go out last week. We don't talk a lot about injuries right here. We're not going to harp on it right here, but they got to get those guys back. But they're heavy favorites in this one at Jim Glover Field. Talk to us from the Etowah standpoint.
Well, from Etowah standpoint, you feel like they're doing what we thought they would do and trending up and getting better each week. So
they just ran into a buzzsaw last week of Anniston actually playing like Anniston's supposed to play.
And we knew it was in them, and they showed up. So if I think they keep scoring points and getting better. They're a pretty tough team.
White Plains is coming off a devastating loss. I think a lot of people had done chalked that up as a win. That's when you're trying to grow your program, you're trying to have statement wins and statement. They could have won back-to-back games for the first time and who knows when. But just a devastating loss. But kudos to Aniana, man. They kind of came in and controlled the game. They wanted the way the game to be played. Coach Phillips did a great job. His guys did a good job in that. But White Plains has got to figure out a way to stop a very athletic, very good offensive team in Etowah, at Etowah. We talked about the other day when we went through Etowah how awesome of a place that is to play a football game. You got the Old Rock Stadium as the visitor side now, and you got the big home side. It's just a great place to play a football game. So that should be.
Last year they were 0-for at home, and I believe they were 0-for the year before, or maybe with 1-1. But he's turned that around.
Yeah.
They've changed that. They got some wins at home this year.
No doubt.
So Peavy does have them going in the right direction. He's a great coach, and yeah, you're right. It's two teams that need a win right there.
Yeah, desperately need a win.
Beckett, Hoax Bluff, another team that needs to turn this thing back around like it was just a few weeks ago. They're heavy favorites. They're going on the road to Asheville. Talk to us about that football game.
Yeah, a little bit. Hoax Bluff end, they're kind of frustrated because they were. But they played a really good team. I mean, the best of the best in Cherokee County. Cherokee County is starting to get in that mode to make a run. So if you're them, you got to come back and do the things that got you there, and that being every aspect of your team, because they don't just pitch the ball to one guy and he outruns everybody. It's not that. It's got to have, every player has to do their role. And I still think they can do some damage as we go forward.
All right, next game we're going to talk about right here. Here's another game nobody's talking about, but this one has quietly become a huge football game.
If Alexandria wins, they're the region champions.
Alexandria versus Cherokee County.
If Alexandria wins,
why is more people not talking about this football game?
They're the region champions. If Cherokee County wins, they wrap up the region essentially. If Alexandria loses and everybody else, and them, Hoax Bluff and Anniston take care of business the rest of the year the way they should, there's going to be a three-way tie for second place there. We kind of feel
I know Todd Ginn is screaming at the screen right now, shut up, guys. We don't want nobody talking about this game.
No, they don't want nobody. They want to slide in quietly.
He's probably saying, I wish these guys would shut their mouth.
But if they win, hey, they've played their way. They deserve that. They've played their way. I actually just got a message from Coach Ginn approving that we are going to be doing their Halloween game against Mumford the last week of the season.
Gotcha.
But they've earned that right. They've played their way into us talking about that. There's nothing. It's factual. We're not throwing out opinion or anything. If they win this ball game, they would be in the driver's seat to win the region, and nobody's talked about them all year. But in this region, we feel like the four teams that are going to be in are Hoax Bluff, Alexandria, Cherokee County, and Anniston. That's kind of shaking its way out. All right, but how is it going to shake out? Because, like I said, if Alexandria loses and they were able to take care of business the rest of the way, Anniston takes care of business, Hoax Bluff, there's going to be a three-way tie for the second place in that region, where Hoax Bluff beat Anniston, Anniston beat Alexandria, and Alexandria beat Hoax Bluff. So non-region is going to play a big dividend in that. And in that, now Hoax Bluff is really fired up about their non-region win against Southside earlier in the year, because that's going to really come back and probably help them. So at the end of the day, Alexandria needs to try to take care of business and then figure out a way to win, or they could go from being almost the 1 seed to being the 4 seed.
Which I've seen happen. And listen, again, that's got to be a Coach of the Year nominee. That's high school royalty with the Ginn family and what they've done, and him bringing that team worst to first from last year. Looking at Cherokee County quickly, Tay Diamond, Keyshawn Woods, Adam Griffith, Tristan Brown. They run the football. And those guys, Adam Griffith stepped in really nicely, went 8 of 9, 155 yards. And I coached his dad. He was our quarterback on the region championship team at Cherokee County. Yeah, the answer is yes to that. But nice job for him, because we talked about earlier that was a huge, huge road to fill when the quarterback goes down.
That's right.
And one, because Carson Tittle's a really good player, too. He's a really good leader. So when you got to step in and replace that's
leader
tough.
Player, yes. And man,
but Cherokee County's had a lot of injuries that they just played through, and nobody's even said anything about because they just keep on rolling. They've built an absolute program where if they get somebody hurt, so it's just next guy up.
That's if you go watch them work out or around their program, that's a kudos to Coach Kelly for having that, because we see some programs. A player goes down or whatever, and it's
done.
Katie Barr to the door, and they're done. And then you see one it's just next man up at Cherokee County.
No doubt about it. Nobody even talks about it.
Jeremy Pruitt and company have turned things around, so to speak, and started moving that dial in a different direction, although they went up to 4A. But you're talking about New Hope's coming in, who's been scoring truckloads of points. They're going to Plainview. Plainview's a big favorite in this one. Talk to us about this football game.
The win last week, the 33-32 win last week for Plainview. That was one of the games all week that kind of grabbed my attention, and I said, wow. And we know it. We know Jeremy Pruitt's the biggest of big, and having seen him in person this year, man, he's matching personnel. He calls offense, he calls defense. And Dale Pruitt's one of you legends, probably going to be a Hall of Famer in the state.
He's close to 300 wins,
the Pruitts are definitely state royalty as well. Yeah,
I think he does got 300 if you count Tennessee.
So here they are, man, and they're poking their head in it. Came out of nowhere as well. 18-3 all time versus New Hope. Lost last year, 28-26, or 2 years ago. No, it wasn't last year. 28-26. So if they'll continue to get that trend going, now they've outscored opponents, and here they are putting their head in the there they are 3-2 in the region race. Got a chance to get in. Man, they're getting coached up really well. Impressive.
Your aspect of what we're about to talk about here, Anniston. Rico Jackson has ran his gauntlet through his schedule. This is the back half of his schedule, and this is no shot at anybody, but he's not playing Cherokee County this week. He's playing Aniana. Talk to us a little bit about this Anniston team, where they're at, where they're heading, and their big favorites.
I think the biggest thing with Anniston is just consistency. I think consistency is their big thing, and I think Anniston, they need to take care of business against Aniana and White Plains. And then they need to that Jacksonville game becomes a lot bigger because Jacksonville has some wins too that they desperately need. They've lost both of their non-region games so far. One to Pleasant Grove, one to Beauregard. The Beauregard game now looking like we're going to have a 3-way tie between teams in that region. That Beauregard game would have been a really big win. But Jacksonville could turn into a big win too. But Hoax Bluff has a lot of wins in their non-region. Southside's getting better, but I'm ready to see that win the other night for Glencoe may end up being the difference maker in that region tiebreaker. That one win could set them apart from Anniston if they're able to beat Jacksonville of the year. But here's the thing with Anniston. Here's the thing with Anniston: consistency.
Yeah.
I want to see them playing consistent. If they're playing consistent defensively, they're one of the best teams in Class 4A. If they're playing consistent offensively, they've got weapons to put up points. They've got to do what they've got to do to take care of business. Like I said, that region's been really fun, and we thought it's going to try to shake out. And then Alexandria said not so fast and threw a wrench in everything when they beat Hoax Bluff. And so I'm ready to see how it shakes out. I'm ready to see who ends up getting the 2, 3, and 4 seed in that region. But Anniston's just got to be. Etowall's been playing a lot better, and they absolutely throttled Etowall from start to finish. So I'm ready to see what happens and how Anniston can take a step forward after getting back in the win column.
Now, they're 6-6 all time. That's interesting. Those two teams.
That is very interesting. 6-6 all time, and let me look at that. 6-6 all time. And in the last meeting, Anniston lost 34-35 in 2019, which might have been a year where Aniana was pretty stinking good. So,
which has been
several of them.
Several of them, yep. And so when you look at that, you kind of wonder who can win it this time. And like I said, it didn't add up for Aniana to come into White Plains and win last week, and they came in and absolutely controlled and dominated the game. So I think Aniana may be playing better. This may be a closer game than what everybody thinks. You never can count anybody out in that one.
All right, guys, it's that time of the week. It's helmet sticker time, ready to get this thing rolling. We love this. We do have our helmet stickers in. We are giving them out as soon as we can come across your school or visit your school and you have won a helmet sticker, you will be receiving a helmet sticker. So be on the lookout for that. I think we're going to have Coach Beckett kick this thing off today. Coach Beckett, whenever you're ready to roll.
Yes, Carter Tinker, he's done great things all year. Great to see him step up. Did it offensively. He's carrying the ball, 2 touchdowns there. But defensively, this guy's going to play on Saturdays. He is a specimen, works harder than anybody anywhere. 8 tackles, 4 assists, 1 tackle for a loss, a sack, and 1 pass breakup in a huge monumental win against Gadsden City.
Hey, that helmet sticker looks just as good in person as it does on the graphic.
Absolutely it does. I agree with that 100%. All right, my first one is going to be a man who's been well deserving of this over the last couple of years, but definitely this year, many games. We could just pick any game. He's probably worthy of a helmet sticker. We're talking about Braden Bowers of the Southside Panthers. And when you look at this guy, he is what a coach's dream is. He's a coach on the field. He sits in there to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning watching film at the school. He is a leader in all aspects of the game of football. He's starting to heat up like he's never heat up before. They're letting him touch the ball on the goal line. He had 3 attempts last week, 17 yards and 2 touchdowns running the football. On defense, he had 11 tackles. Listen to this, Beckett. 5 assists. He had a sack, a QB pressure, an INT for a touchdown, 1 pass breakup, 1 forced fumble, and 3 overall touchdowns. That, my friends, will earn you a helmet sticker.
Have a ball game.
Hey, and so that's, and I've been over there and watched practice and even sat down and watched film. So their helmet, you talk about, as the kids say, sick, right there south on the side. Wow, awesome is that? That is very slick. Nice, and kudos there, Southside. Great job. They're getting better.
Beckett.
All right, hey, mine is Brian Chapman. How about Sardis? Line's a nice helmet as well.
Nice highlights.
Yeah. Brian Chapman, 9 of 20. They had counted for 206 yards, had 2 touchdowns in a huge win for the Lions.
Brian Chapman, I went to school with his dad. He's a great kid and really gets after it. Leader on that football team without questions.
No doubt about it. All right, I am next. I have Landon Smith from St. Clair County. He has been electric all year long, but this past Friday night he threw for 266 yards and 5 touchdowns while completing 81% of his passes. Like I said, he's been on a roll all year. In the last 4 ball games, 3 out of the last 4, he's thrown for over 4 touchdowns, at least 4 touchdowns. So he's a guy that's been dominating. Coach Tyler Robinson's done a great job at St. Clair County. They've done a little something different with their helmet as well. It's got St. Clair County with
these are all-star
helmets. The lights going. With the lines going through and all that stuff. I had to get real close to figure out what it actually was.
It's the logo.
Kind
of like the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, awesome. It's got the leaf logo in the middle of it. So pretty sweet there. Like I said, Landon Smith has been unbelievable all year long. He is past due for a chance to win a helmet sticker.
Right back to you, brother.
My next guy, I like it when y'all let me go 2 times in a row. Let's talk some defense. Cleto Bryant, 16 tackles, 1 sack, and like I said
Bully
earlier.
O'Brien. The nickname is stuck. Cleet Bully O'Brien.
Bully?
Yeah, he's a bully.
Went over 500 tackles for his career now. What else do you say? I've always said if you create a milestone or you break a record, you get a helmet sticker. I'm going to stay with that because he deserves a helmet sticker. This is to be his second because he got one when the Hokusa defense got one earlier in the year. He is a stud. He is a linebacker mentality, and And when linebackers make plays, linebackers got to give them helmet stickers. So helmet sticker for our linebacker.
He loves breaking down film, and he's a coach's son, obviously, but he's also a coach on the field as well.
Yeah, like when you're brought up in that, you get good at watching film. There's a difference in watching film and like knowing what you're looking for on film, and he knows what.
Just like Tinker from Fort Payne, same situation. Breaks down a lot of film at home when he don't have to.
Yep.
Cleat don't sleep though. When before big games, he don't sleep. Every time you see him, no matter who they're playing, first thing out of Cleat's mouth is they got a good ball club. No matter what the point spread is, he honors the other team by telling everybody they got a good ball club. You know, we got to be ready. I ain't slept all week. That kind of thing. Absolutely. Next one. Charles Big Money Thomas of the Anniston Bulldogs.
Big money.
Big money.
Charles Big Money Thomas from the Anniston Bulldogs. When you step out on a football field and you get graded by your coaches and your individual unit coaches, and you get graded out of 95 on your technique, you're going to get a helmet sticker.
95 for effort.
When you're going to grade out a 95 for effort, you're going to get a helmet sticker. Well, not only on top of that, this man had 4 tackles on the game. He had 2 tackles for loss. He also had 3 sacks on the game. All right. He also blocked a punt in the game that helped them to that big win versus Etowah. So this guy did everything his coach asked him. I mean, across the board, and has all season. Rico Jackson himself said, hey, if we're going to give a helmet sticker out, this is the man that deserves it. So the Anniston Bulldogs, we have a helmet sticker coming to you from Charles Big Money Thomas. Guys,
we know how good Jamison Sissom is. For him to have that kind of ball game and keep him in check, that's a big deal.
And to do it on special teams, and then you grow out effort and technique and everything else, 95% across the board. What else can you do than everything your coach asks you? We got about 5 minutes here, guys, for final thoughts. Beckett, kick us off.
Well, you know, hey, the time of year we're at, you know, you're starting to get to know your team. Your injuries are starting to get the novelty of the game of the season is kind of worn off. It's not new anymore. So you challenge yourself as players and coaches to push yourself just a little bit further and to keep on keeping on. You're in that stretch run trying to get there. You know, you pushing yourself in the film room. You pushing yourself as coaches. You pushing yourself. In every way. I remember when I was in high school as a 9th grader, I remember we were runner-up at Cherokee County, and I remember a player going, I am tired of this. We've gone far enough. And I wonder, and we get beat 2018 to T.R. Miller State Championship game on a field goal. But if you think if he had that stretch run, if he had it to do over again, he would be able to reach a little deeper. So, you know, I kind of impede on those guys to, you know, do that. And the other thing I got to say, I hadn't had any complaints. If some of your teams didn't get a recognition, this is not like where we go on ESPN and the stats are all there. We have to really do research. Some of these schools, and I know from being a coach, I was a statistician, the grass cutter, I did eligibility, I did the bus. There wasn't enough hours in the day to get to all this and to be the sports information. So some of them don't have it, and some of them are well-staffed. They've got, I'm going to call it, good principals that get it, that have the staff in every way and think about it and understand sports as a front porch. So some of you may not be recognized. We may not be getting your statistics.
All right. My talking points at the end of this week, I've got 3 games I want to talk about. I personally will probably be with Bama Preps at the Hoover Thompson game because I need to go see my buddy Coach Clark down at Thompson, and Coach Freeman hadn't got to go down there in Birmingham this year, and I'm free to do so, so I got to get down there. This will be a perfect week. But here in this area of the state, 3 games I'm really intrigued by. Arab Scottsboro, the battle of the young up-and-coming coaches, 2 programs that's definitely on the rise, that's not going nowhere no time soon. Winner hosts pretty much in all intents and purposes, and if you want to host, you have to win the game. That game, all eyeballs on that one. I hate to say this because Sully's going to kill me. Boaz, Guntersville. The reason I'm saying this, I think this is a sneaky game for Guntersville. You had to get up for Arab. You had to get up for Scottsboro. And now Boaz is coming in. They're one of the hotter teams in the state offensively. How many times can you get up in a row is my point for Guntersville. And you know, Guntersville's got the guys. And if you hear Sully talk about it like he did today, he's like, man, they got a great quarterback. They got great receivers. They got Coach Reese, one of the best coaches in the state. They got guys on defense. But they do have all that. But I think Boaz has enough guys they can score some points. That game's going to be a very interesting football game. And when you got a quarterback like Pierce, he's going to keep you in every game. So I think that's going to be an interesting game. And then finally,
he's going to be ticked at you.
I know he's going to be mad. I know Coach Sully's going to be mad at me. But I still love him. I'm just saying, Boaz, Boaz, I think, is going to make this an interesting football game, just in my opinion. And I know Sully's going to dog me out, but hey, I still love Coach Sully. Last game, Southside at Gadsden City. Southside at Gadsden City. This has been talked about for years and years. Well, it's here. This is a game both communities wanted. The whole county wanted that football game. Southside at Gadsden City, really intrigued by that one from both sides.
First off, who would have thought going into the year that Hoover and Thompson would be a big-time matchup at this point of the year? Kudos to that Hoover staff and their players for doing the job they did. I think you just left Oxford and Clay Chalkville just for me to talk about.
Of course
I appreciate you doing that. Excited about that one. Excited to see if Donahoe can get into the playoffs and seal a playoff spot this week in 1A Region 6, 1A Region 8. Ready to see how that shakes out down below Spring Garden. In the 2A region, can Pleasant Valley put their stamp on their program and look like and host a playoff game? 3A Region 6, what's going to go on there? Who knows? 3A Region 8, what's going to happen below 5 because they're kind of in control. Can Sylvania lock up a home field advantage in the first round? 4A Region 6 is an absolute crazy thing. Can Alexandria go in and play with Cherokee County? Like you said, in that Southside Gadsden is going to be huge. Arab Scottsboro is going to be huge. Gunnersville Boaz is going to be huge. And then Central Clay County and Beauregard, that's going to be an absolute slugfest. We are 20 seconds out. What you got to finish us on?
Thank you to our sponsors, Watkins Heating and Cooling, as always. They are our primary sponsor for the Road to the Blue Map. It's actually called the Watkins Heating and Cooling sponsorship. How much time we got?
3,
2, 1. We're out.
You need strength, resilience, and hope to face life challenges. And I found all 3 at Gadsden State Community College. I'm Jada Pickens, an office administration